Well, they did it. They finally did it. And it is going to be amazing. FTL is going to be reworked completely. They're going to strip it down to the bone and build it all the way back up. Welcome to Dev Diary 92, FTL Rework, and Galactic Terrain. So let's take it right off the top and make sure that all of you are completely aware of what's going on. All FTL is going to be condensed down to hyperdrive, with more advanced FTL being unlocked through, well, technology, as well as the magnificent addition of long-distance wormholes. So why is this being done? Well, they're consolidating the entire system because the several types of jump drives are causing serious problems within the balance of the game, especially when you're working in an environment where multiple empires are basically running around with multiple types of FTL, and it causes a serious problem, and it does apparently not make a lot of sense. And this was already addressed quite some time ago at Paradox Con in Sweden, where Wiz basically went out and said, yeah, I don't like the system, I don't like how it works, I'm going to change it all. And at changing it all, he is going to. So, what's going to be happening? Well, let's take a look here. A lot of people have asked the question, and we have brought up that consolidating FTL types before, suggesting that problems such as static defenses can be solved just adding more mechanics to handle each specific scenario. However, the devs believe that the best way of handling this scenario is to lower the amount of FTLs down to just hyperlanes, as this creates natural choke points, and I 100% agree, because hyperlanes to me are the best type of FTL in the game, because it's solid fun and it adds for a lot of mechanical stuff, and a lot of other games kind of use the same system as well. Not that that is really an argument, but just take a look here. So, wormholes being added in, and warp also being thrown into the mix. So basically the big problem is that from a strategic point of view, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense of having all three types of jump drive, wormhole drive. Well, jump drive is still going to be in, but wormhole drive, hyperdrive, etc. still being thrown into the mix. So, why is everything being consolidated into hyperlanes for Stellaris? Basically, it allows for a unified distance sensor and border system that makes sense for every single species, so that you don't have weird borders in faraway systems that you cannot get to. You can add galactic geography because you're forced to go to these nodes and then cross the entire system to get to the next node, and then basically that. You can get more galactic generation going on and exploration. So, for instance, entire regions being only accessible through special gates or wormholes that are being, or basically a single guarded hyperlane. So with special locations and enemies, etc. Better performance, which is always good. I know a lot of people have problems with performance in the game. Apparently, wormhole FTL is particularly a resource hog, which is kind of interesting, really. I'm really looking forward to see better performance, because a lot of people ask me, hey, ASpec, how do you manage to get the game to run so smoothly? It's just throwing it's a brute force mechanic, basically. And also warfares with distinct sense of theaters, advancing and retreating from fronts and border skirmishes, and basically we're going to see more of this sort of thing in the future. But yeah, it makes perfect sense to make hyperdrive the de facto standard FTL type in the game. Now this adds some stuff regarding supply travel as well. So let's take a look here. Supply travel is also changed somewhat, and you actually have to travel from the entry point of a particular hyperlane, so basically the arrow on the system, to the other entry point or the exit point across the system. So you can't just hop, skip, and jump. This shows slow down the game quite significantly. And in addition, there was also a video about the mechanics of the game being changed in terms of that you'll no longer be able to scout a piece of space with a Corvette before you've sent assigned ships to it. So you can no longer do the starting game scouting anymore. So that's now all being swapped to just science ships, putting a little bit more focus on science ships and making it a bigger investment in terms of total influence, because obviously if you lose your scientists, which in my particular case happens quite a lot, you lose a significant chunk of influence that can take time to build up, etc., etc. Apparently, they're going to be compensating this moving across systems to speeding up thrusters and stuff like that. So at least that is pretty cool. They're going to be adding, they're going to be updating some sensor-related stuff. The base sensors will only be able to scan the system that the ship is in, the second tier, one system ahead, the third system, another system ahead, and then etc., etc. So it's basically, for every level, you can see a little bit further into the game. So this is actually kind of cool. Sensor coverage can be blocked by certain galactic features. There are going to be galactic features such as clouds and, you know, nebulae that are going to be blocking all that stuff. So that is at least really cool, and adds a lot of depth to the additional game. Wormholes. You'll be able to find natural wormholes that will shoot you across the galaxy. You need to stabilize that wormhole. But the cool thing about this one is as well, is that you can have an empire that is split across the galaxy, but the wormhole will be considered a natural passage between both areas. So you can have the Star Trek scenario where an empire has an area in a certain quadrant and then conquer an area in another quadrant in order to take control of all that stuff. And it will still work from a border point of view because they will still be connected through a wormhole. And it can be anything on the other side. So either it's unclaimed space, a devouring swarm. There is going to be a slider in the game that adds a frequency of wormholes being added as well. Then we get to gateways. Gateways is an advanced form of FTL, more closely resembling wormhole FTL. Effectively, they're Iconian gateways where you can jump from A to B very quickly. There are leftovers from fallen empires, and you'll be able to fix them up, and later on in the game you'll be able to build them yourselves for more instant point-to-point networks, which is actually really, really cool. And you can control those portals as well, so you can decide who goes through them, obviously through the right system that is in the game. Very cool stuff here indeed. Unlike wormholes, obviously wormholes are natural and they can be entered anything, but you know what? I'm looking forward to wormhole aliens, let's put it that way. Jump drive. This is actually kind of big. They basically will be changed to the point that will allow the ship to move across hyperlanes very, very quickly, but also come equipped with a tactical jump functionality, which allows the fleet to jump from point to point, ignoring normal hyperdrive limitations. This is done with a special fleet order, and you select the target to jump to. However, there's a cooldown attached to this, so that is obviously going to be interesting. So it becomes more tactical, and this is going to be added in Cherry as well. So we'll see whether or not how this is going to work out. Basically, if you've ever played EVE Online, the tactical jump drive that's in that game is kind of similar. Galactic terrain, there's going to be a lot of stuff added here, so let's just go through the things. Nebulae will block all sensor coverage originating from other system. However, if you're in the same system, you'll be able to see stuff that's inside. Pulsars will interfere with deflector technology, so pulse cannon meta is back in business, boys. So anybody that jumps in onto a pulsar will have 0 shields. That is cool. I wonder whether or not this is going to be happening over time or not. Neutron stars will interfere with navigation and ship systems, significantly slowing down sublight travel in a system with a neutron star, which means that any sort of defenses with super long range will be more effective in that case. Black holes will interfere with FTL, increasing the time it takes for a fleet to charge its emergency FTL, making it more difficult to make for ships to individually disengage. Individually disengage. That's the key word here. From combat. And apparently they're going to be talking about that in the new Death Diary. Oh, Cherry is full of wonders. And apparently this is just the first iteration, so we can expect more stuff. And it's kind of very similar to what we already have with the Spectres, as they have different effects depending on what different systems they're in. So that is kind of cool. And that will be it for today. Next week we're going to be talking about a complete and total rework of the Wargol system currently existing in Stellaris. I am so excited for this. It is not even funny. We're also going to be doing a video on... I'm also going to be doing a video on taking a look at the design corner that was done. And in addition, finally, before I go, it's good to be back. I was away for 2 weeks, and we're back in action now. Also, 2.0 confirmed. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other.